Hello, welcome to Adobe Flash CS5 and CS6 ActionScript 3.0 Classroom Book Lesson 2. So we learned the last lesson how to do conditional loopings, we learned how to use labels, we learned how to use the code snippets panel. So in this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to work with events and function. Okay, so events and functions happen in the sense that whenever you have something that happens, you specify a function that will handle that event. For example, what will happen if there is a mouse click, or what will happen when the animation ends, or what will happen when a certain sprite collides with another sprite. So these are all called events. Okay, so we're going to do a simple event handler right now, which applies to this thing called buttons. So what happens when a button is clicked? Okay, so let's just come over to our buttons layer, okay, and select frame 1 over here. Okay, so buttons layer, frame 1. Okay, and what we're going to do is that we're going to go to our libraries panel. And we're going to come over to button here, and we're going to drag another button over here. Okay, so we've got another button here. And in the properties, we got to just change it from label. We got to change it to type, say, home. Okay, so you want to zoom in a little bit more. You can see that it's home here. And you want to, let's say, align both of them. And there we have it. Okay, so we've got this button over here. And what we're going to do is that we're going to come over, we're going to select this and we're going to give it a name, home underscore button. And we're going to go to the code snippets. Okay, make sure this is selected, go to code snippets. Okay. And we're going to select frame 2 of our actions panel here. So make sure this is frame 2. Go to code snippets. Okay, select this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the timeline navigation, which is over here. And notice there is a click to go to frame and stop. So we're going to come here and we're going to double click this. So notice now there is actually a button here that's created. Okay, home button, add event listener, added here. Okay, so what it does is says home button, we got add a listener, that means add an event listener that says listen to this click and then call this function, which this function that is name is given here, fl click go to stop, go to and stop at frame. Okay, so what it does is that it calls this function over here. Now remember, we don't like to use numbers, we in fact prefer to use labels. So we've got to just come over here and just go click here, home. Okay, and that's it. So let's just try it out first. So let's click here and it automatically jumps to the home frame and ends our animation. Okay, so that allows us to jump all the way to the home page. Now, another thing we can do is that now notice this is the default name that's given, and it's pretty long, it's hard to read and hard to remember. So let's just make it a very simple name. You go and call it go home. And the same thing, we're going to call this go home. So that's much more easier to remember. Okay, and of course all these comments is just information which we don't really need. So, and it still works the same way. Here it goes home. Okay, so let's create an event listener, and it's definitely important for you to understand what ActionScript does. Okay, so what we're going to add next is we're going to add a restart button. So let's just go to the beginning of our start frame over here. So I'm just going to zoom back up again. So this is going to come out here and deselect everything. And we're going to just select the home button. Go to properties here and go call it restart. Okay, and notice over here, I'm just going to zoom in a bit more. So instead of calling it home button, we're going to call it restart button. Okay, so we're going to go to the home frame of the actions layer. Oh, we just had a, okay, okay, over here right now, over here we had the home button over here, right? Okay, so unfortunately I just made a mistake over here. So let's just call it home again. Okay, so it's still home. Okay, it's still home button. So come over here and come over here to insert a keyframe. So there's a keyframe over here. Okay, and then only here do I call this restart. And we're going to call this the restart button. Okay. And we're going to add the following code in the actions panel. Okay, go select this frame with the home frame of the actions panel. I'm going to put here restart underscore button dot add event listener mouse event dot click go start, and we got type here function go start mouse event void count 1. Go to and play loop. Okay, so what it does is that it goes back, it resets the counter and says go back to the beginning of our loop. So let's just save this and just run it again. So 2, 3, 4, 5 comes here. Notice here it says restart, it goes back here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it works like that. Okay, go ahead and modify the text view dynamically. Okay, so we got to just add the text view, make the text view more useful by adding some things to make a complete sentence. So we got to come over here. So notice at this part of info text.text equal to string. So we got, instead of putting it info text.text equal to string, we got to just put here the animation has played plus string count plus x. Okay, so that's it. So what the plus sign does, it does this thing called concatenation. Basically means joining the strings together. Okay, just got to put a space here. Okay, let's try it out again. As you can see, Flasher is played 4 times, 5 times, and that's it. Okay. So we got to add a few more buttons to the stage to let the user control the language that's being displayed. So let's select frame 1 of our actions layer. Just gonna delete all these things over here. Okay, so now you got this var count 1. Okay, so we're gonna set here var count var language string equals to English. So we created a language variable. So now we gotta come over to this loop over here, frame 2 of our actions panel. So we gotta take this, we gotta cut it, okay, and we just gotta type this function set language void if language English there. So it checks if the language equals to English, and then it will do something here. And we're gonna come here and we're gonna paste this text here, info text animation has played, string count, whatever. So what this does is that there's this function that says, okay, set the language. If the language is this, do this. Else, if language equals to German, Deutsch, info, okay, I'm just gonna type this. Die Animation wurde abgesch. Okay, so what it does here is that what we're doing is that we are checking the language. If it's English, we got to put a string that says the animation has played. If it's German, we got to use this, and if it's Spanish, we got to do this. So notice this equals sign. So what equals does, that means says, is it the same as, or is it equals? Okay, so now we've got declared the function, so we just got to do is call the function. So say set language, and that's it. Okay, so let's come over here, and we got to go to the first frame of the buttons layer. And we got to come over here to the library, and we got to create some instances of buttons. Okay, so notice over here, so we got this one over here. I'm going to save this here, okay. I'm just going to open up another library here. And we're going to go lesson 2, because I don't think I have the buttons here, so I'm going to open up this button. Now notice there's the English, German button here in lesson 2. Okay. So I'm just going to drag these buttons to the stage. And one more is Spanish. Okay. So notice what I did was I used another files library to create my own buttons here. So now you've got 3 buttons here. And we're going to add the event listeners in frame 2. So I'm going to come over here, go to the Actions panel. And I'm going to put here English button dot add event listener mouse event dot click set English German button dot add event listener mouse event dot click set German. And finally we got Spanish button dot click set Okay. So whenever one of these buttons is clicked, what it needs to do is that it needs to set the language and as well call the set language function. So what we gotta do is come here. So we gotta come here and type this function set English mouse event. That means we'll come here and type this. So what it is that when the English button is called, we gotta set the language to English. I'm going to say set language function set German set language finally function set Spanish mouse event void language equals to Spanish, and we gotta set the language again. Okay, and but before that we gotta call this, give this English name, English underscore btn. We gotta call this German underscore btn, and we gotta come here and call here and say Spanish underscore btn. Okay, so let's run our thing again. So 1, 2, I'm going to change to German or to Spanish. Restart. Spanish, German, English, Spanish. Okay, so that's it. So we can try things on our own. You can add additional languages, or you can also do things like change this language as well. So you want to check the language and change this to German, to change it to Spanish as well. You can also add other buttons over here with links to other URLs, and you can also add buttons that go to stop and to specific frames or play specific frames of the animation. So that's it. Thank you for watching ActionScript 3.0 for Flash CS5 CS6 Lesson 2.